Now, Mandelbrot had a brilliant job. He taught mathematics at Harvard, and when he got bored, he went to IBM and played on the computers. Because this is the 1970s when IBM had computers and nobody else did. So he would come up with these, wonderfully complex mathematical ideas, and then he'd go over to IBM and spend a couple of months playing around and simulating them, and then he'd go back to Harvard and, talk to his graduate students about all this kind of stuff. And he was the first person to see the shape which now bears his name. His name was Mandelbrot, but everyone calls it the Mandelbrot set, and I know that I'm going to do that, so let's just call it the Mandelbrot set. Basically, he took each of these numbers in this grid, and he said, we are going to square this and add it to itself, and square it and add it to itself, and we are going to see whether it stays on the grid or not. And if it stays on the grid, we are going to color it in black. And if it disappears and vanishes off the grid, we are going to color it in a different color depending how quickly it, what's called, tends towards infinity. He started off with these very, very low resolution renditions of this image, but the one that you're probably used to, the one that all of us have seen, is this, the Mandelbrot set. Now, the astonishing thing about this, from this incredibly simple mathematical rule, there is an infinite amount of complexity. We're going to take a Mandelbrot set here, and we are just going to start magnifying, and we are going to start zooming in. And when we get to around about here, we're going to say that's 1 times magnification. And we're going to keep zooming and zooming and zooming. And by the time we get to about here, that original shape is now the size of this building, and we are still zooming in. When we get to around about here, that is 2 to the 20 factor magnification. The original shape is now bigger than London. And we are still zooming in. And around about now, the original shape is bigger than the United Kingdom, and we are still zooming in. And we are still zooming in. And we can continue zooming into this shape forever. It never repeats. It is what's called self-similar, which means it resembles itself at different scales, but it never repeats exactly. There is an infinite amount of detail buried inside this one shape. And this has been there the whole time. Nobody invented this. We discovered it. Now, the Mandelbrot set, some people have called it the thumbprint of God. Now, I'm not a very spiritual person, but I do play a lot of computer games. And I love that thing in a computer game where you're doing something silly that maybe isn't part of the main campaign, and you find that the game designers left something there to persuade you that you were supposed to be here and you're on the right track. And this thing has been hidden in mathematics since, our universe was created. And no one ever saw it until we humans, we invented computers, which means taking lightning and sticking it in a rock until it learns to think. And we invented advanced mathematics. We invented high-definition color displays and rendering technologies, all this kind of stuff. And this is what we found. Something that was hidden there the whole time, nobody had ever seen until we built the machines and the technology to allow us to visualize it. Now,